Welcome to CWM. Today's mini seminar topic is one of economic knowledge series. We want to talk about growth recession. In Korean, 경기위축 저성장. Okay, it is growth, it is a recession, but it is growth recession. So it's kind of not that many people use, I believe, and it's not familiar with many people. But let's talk about a growth recession. Recently, they are start talking about growth recession. In other words, the Fed is trying to lead to growth recession instead of soft landing. It appears to me that soft landing is not an option. So therefore, the Fed Reserve is trying to achieve a growth recession. What is the definition of a growth recession? Growth recession is a term in economics that refers to a situation where economic growth is slow, but not low enough to be a technical recession. Yet unemployment still increases. Simply saying, the economy is growing, but at a very slow rate. The full technical definition of recession is not met, but some symptoms of a recession, such as rising unemployment, still occur. Now, let's talk about a little bit details, what actually it means. Growth recession can occur as simply a milder form of recession, as part of an extended, sluggish recovery from a declared recession, or due to a structural and technological change in the economy unrelated to normal business cycles. Well, basically, we are out of pandemic period, and a lot of people are talking about whether we are in recession or not. And of course, this would not be a normal business cycle. Well, what is a normal business cycle we're talking about? Let's take a look at the diagram first. The typical economic business cycle is depicted in this picture. So the y-axis is level of real output, and x-axis is the time. So as time goes, the level of real output will change. And if you look at this curve, it's once the economy hits a peak, and then the recession starts, okay? And this period is recession. And economy goes down and down. Finally, it'll hit trough. Trough means it's the bottom line, bottom point. Okay, it cannot go worse anymore. And then it starts recovery. So this is a recovery period, and is gonna go to expansion mode. So economy grew fast. And then again, it will hit the peak, and then it starts recession again. So this is a cyclic activities, basically. So peak and recession and trough, and the expansion and peak and recession and trough, and then expansion and peak and repeat. This is typical economic business cycles we talk about. Okay, so going back to some explanation of growth recession. An economy that is growing, but is also expanding more slowly than its long-term sustainable growth rate may still feel like a recession. Well, what is long-term sustainable growth rate? In terms of a GDP, we're talking about GDP growth. Long-term potential growth will be currently 1.9%. If GDP growth rate becomes like point something, 0.5, 0.7, which is below 1%, then we will say it's very slow expanding. It's very slow growth. So in this case, it can be categorized by growth recession. It can seem this way even if economic growth is not actually dipping below zero. This is because growth is so weak that unemployment rises and incomes fall, thus creating conditions that feel similar to a recession. So indeed, it is growing, but painfully slowly expanding. And the GDP growth rate is close to zero, but not a minus. Okay, that's kind of a situation with so-called growth recession. And if we want to talk about the recession in general a little bit more, it has 5 different stages. First stage is recession. We looked at the picture first, right? So first stage, let's say recession. So it went down. So recession period, of course, a decrease in activities, fewer jobs, so less spending. And the second stage is trough. Let's say at this point, let's go back to our diagram. Okay, it was a peak and then recession starts and finally going down and down, it'll hit trough, which means the lowest part, lowest point, and then starts recovery and expansion, and then is going to hit the peak again. So the third stage is recovery after it hit the lowest point, which is we call trough. And when it becomes a recovery stage, it starts to grow and slow process. And fourth stage will be expansion. So growing in a healthy rate, new jobs, many new jobs will be available, and people feeling confident. That's the expansion mode. And the fifth stage is peak, which is highest point, then followed by recession. It starts to slow down. So in general, the economic business cycle repeats this recession, trough, recovery, expansion, and the peak, as we already saw in this picture. Okay, the next topic is then who benefits in a recession? Anybody can get benefit in a recession? Yes, some people, more than anybody else. Let's say rental agents. In this case, rental agents means not real simply real estate agent, but rental agents in a broader sense, okay? Some company or individual who deals with leasing and rentals and etc. So rental agents will get benefit in a recession. And also landlords will get a benefit because renting is likely to become a more appealing options, okay? And also in that sense, property management companies also can thrive during a recession. Again, same reason, renting is likely to become a more appealing options, if not the only one available. So simply saying there could be a lot of rental activities rather than buy and sell activities. And also some other categories of professions or business will get benefit, such as accountants. A lot of people are trying to figure out the numbers if we are in a recession. So accountant and the healthcare providers. Healthcare providers always winners, no problem. And financial advisors and economists. And auto repair and maintenance. Yes, you are not going to buy a new car because it's a recession. You're going to repair your car. So auto repair and maintenance business is going to be good and benefited in a recession. And also home maintenance stores, like Home Depot stores, not builders. Builders will get tough time, and builders will not get the benefit during the recession. And home staging experts, because the house is going to be very difficult to sell, so homeowners has to do some extra work, which means staging, and they have to pay some to the home staging experts. And grocery stores, of course, that's the bottom line. So they will keep the spending on the necessity. And the bargain and discount stores will get benefit in a recession. Okay, and the next topic is, well, the advantage of buying during a recession. There's some advantages if you buy the property during a recession. Yes, two aspects. One is prices are lower than other stages in the economic cycle. Okay, why price is lower? Homeowners are willing to lower their asking prices, and homeowners sometimes doing a short sale to get out, and banks are selling foreclosed property. So the homeowners are willing to lower their asking price, and there could be some available short sales and foreclosure properties. That's why prices are low. The second aspect is rates are lower too, because housing industry plays an important role in the economy. The federal government avoid home sales by lowering rates. Well, if we are in a recession, then the federal government try to boost up home sales. Okay, in order to boost up home sales, what they can do, they can lower interest rate. Okay, well, the question comes into the picture. What about now? Now is a good time to buy. Now is the current mortgage interest rate is low or high, all depending on your aspect. In other words, if you have a very short span to compare the interest rate compared to a couple of years past, right now is interest rate is higher. But if you're looking into 30 years span or 40 years span, right now interest is very low. Okay, so right now today's we will review the interest rate later on, but let's say 30-year fixed mortgage interest rate right now is 5.6, for instance. It's still very low compared to 30 or 40-year span of U.S. history. but compared to few years ago, it is high. So depending on what kind of a view you have, okay, so it's a relatively, it's a relative to look at the interest rate, whether it's low, whether it's high. 오케이, 조금 서머라이즈 해드리면요. growth recession이라는 얘기를 이제 하고 있는데, 한국말로 하자면 경기 위축 저성장, 이렇게 우리가 풀 수가 있는데, 지금 Fed에서, Federal Reserve에서 이제 그 방향을 바꿨다라고 분석하는 그러한 조짐들이 나오기 시작을 했는데, 무슨 얘기냐면 소프트 랜딩이 이제 힘들어졌다. 그러므로 이제 리세션은 가는데 그로스 리세션을 추구해야 되겠다. 이렇게 방향이 바뀌었다는 얘기가 나오면서 그러면 그로스 리세션이란 도대체 무엇이냐. 그래서 오늘 그것을 좀 검토해 보려고 하는데 그 이코노미 그로스가 굉장히 느리다. 오케이. 느려요. 느려서 그 테크니컬리 리세션이라고 하기는 맞지 않고, 오케이. 그러나 unemployment는 여전히 굉장히 높다, 증가하는 그런 추세. 오케이. 다시 얘기를 하자면 이코노미가 굉장히 growing 하기는 하는데 굉장히 아주 slow하게 성장한다. 오케이. 그래서 리세션이라고 하기는 맞질 않아요. 데피니션은 맞지 않지만 그러나 또 리세션의 증상은 좀 보이는 이런 경우, 그런 것을 우리가 경기 위축 저성장이라고 한다. 거기에 따라오는 거는 이제 unemployment, 실업률이 높아지는 거죠. 오케이. 그런 상태를 growth recession이라고 부른다. 경기 위축 저성장이라고 부른다. 그래서 조금 더 설명을 이제 하자면 이제 그런 거죠. 굉장히 mild form of recession이다. 굉장히 그 경미한 증상의 리세션이다. 이렇게 얘기를 할 수가 있다는 거죠. 이제 그런 것들이 왜 오느냐 그러면 어떤 structural, 어떤 구조적인 문제의 변화가 있다거나 아니면 어떤 그 테크놀로지컬한 체인지가 있었다거나 그랬을 경우에 노멀 비즈니스 사이클과 좀 맞지 않는 그런 변화가 일어나게 된다. 그때의 이 growth recession이라는 것이 가능해진다 하는 거고요. 그래서 그 long-term sustainable growth rate이라는 게 있는데 미국의 경우는 한 1.9%를 보고 있는데 정상적이라면 그렇게 이제 성장을 바라보는데 그거보다는 못 미쳐요. 그러나 경제 성장률이 또 GDP 성장이 마이너스는 아니에요. 그러니까 거의 제로를 조금 넘는 정도. 그러면서 실업률은 또 높아지는 거. 그러면서 실질적으로 느낌이 우리 불경기가 아닌가 하는 느낌, 리세션이 온 것 같은 느낌을 갖는 그런 경우를 우리가 얘기를 한다. 자, 그러면서 우리가 리세션의 5 스테이지, 즉 정상적인 라이프 사이클, 비즈니스 사이클이 5가지 스테이지로 보는데 이게 계속 돌아가는 거죠, 결국은. 그래서 먼저 우리가 그래프를 한번 보면 이제 경제가 성장해서 피크가 치면 그 다음에 리세션이 오죠. 그 다음에는 바람을 치죠. 그걸 through라고 하는데 through. 그 다음에 리커버리가 돼서 다시 또 성장해요. 익스펜션이 돼요. 피크를 치고 그 다음에 다시 리세션이 시작되고 그 다음에 바닥을 치고 through. 그 다음에 리커버리 되면서 다시 익스펜션해서 피크를 친다. 이제 시간이 가면서 이것은 아웃풋 레벨이고 이것이 노멀한 비즈니스 사이클인데 이제 growth recession이 되면 이것을 이제 벗어나게 되는 거죠. 자, 그런 그 스테이지들이 있다. 그래서 recession first stage, second stage, 그다음에 third stage, fourth stage, 그다음에 fifth stage 가서 다시 피크로 가서 계속 사이클릭하게 돌아간다. 경제라는 것은. 자, 그런데 그러면 그 리세션 때에 오히려 더 잘 되는 사람들이 있는가? 베네핏이 있는 사람들이 있는가? 주로 어떤 사람들이 그런 베네핏이 있느냐 하면 리세션 때 그 렌탈 에이전트, 이것은 이제 리징 컴퍼니나 렌탈을 다루는 회사 이렇게 얘기할 수 있고요. 그다음에 랜로드들이 유리하고, 그다음에 프로퍼티 매니지먼트 컴퍼니들이 유리한다. Can thrive during a recession because renting is the only option, okay, and more appealing option, in fact, if not the only one available. 렌트를 할 수밖에 없는 상황이거나 렌트가 더 어필링하는 상황이기 때문에 혜택을 받는다. 이거죠. 리세션의 경우에. 그 이외에도 몇 가지인데 accountant, healthcare provider, financial advisors 이런 사람들, 그다음에 auto repair하고 home repair가 잘 된다. 그런 비즈니스도 잘 된다. 그다음에 홈 스테이징 엑스포트도 좋다. 왜냐면 집을 팔기 힘들기 때문에 엑스트라 돈을 써서 스테이징 같은 걸 한다. 그로서리 스토어 당연히 리세션 때 괜찮고요. 그다음에 바르게닝 디스카운트 스토어도 리세션 때 괜찮은 분야 중에 하나다. 자, 그렇게 볼 수 있고요. 그다음에 실질적으로 그럼 리세션 때 집을 사는 것이 어드밴티지가 있느냐? 있죠. 두 가지 애스펙트로 가격이 저렴하다. 왜냐하면 셀러들이 이제 가격을 좀 낮추려고 하는 거예요. 부드러워지는 거죠. 그렇기 때문에 유리하다. 그 다음에 숏세일들이 많이 나올 수 있고 포클로저들이 많이 나올 수 있다. 그러므로 인해서 가격이 아무래도 낮아진다. 그다음 리세션 in general 리세션 때 또 한 가지 어드밴티지인 것은 이 하우징 인더스트리가 큰 역할을 차지하기 때문에 전체 경제에 페더럴 가버먼트에서 이자율을 낮춰서라도 홈세일을 자꾸 부양시키려고 한다. 그때 우리 오바마 때 그 텍스 혜택도 막 줘서 홈세일을 자꾸 장려했던 거 아니겠어요? 8,000불, 퍼스트 홈바이에게 8,000불의 텍스 크레딧을 줘서 그래서 집을 많이 살 수 있도록, 그렇기 때문에 레이시나 이런 조건이 좋다. 그러니까 어제 리세션 때 집을 사게 되면 그러한 면이 있어서 오히려 잘 정신을 잘 차리고 이 리세션 때 잘 살펴보게 되면 그 집을 살 수 있는 기회도 생길 수가 있다. 자, 그렇게 서머리를 한번 해드렸습니다. Okay, so that's it for today's mini seminar. We talked about growth recession. The Federal Reserve is trying to lead to the growth recession instead of soft landing. There's some analysis is wondering the Fed now is trying to lead to growth recession instead of soft landing, because the soft landing is not achievable, it appears. There's some opinions, so today's mini seminar we reviewed what the growth recession is and means, and what would be the consequences, and in general about the recession. Okay, thank you for joining, and see you all next week.